What is going on, my Masketeers? Welcome back to another episode of the M.A.S.K, and we are here today talking about none other than the Suicide Squad, or should I be more precise by saying James Gunn's Suicide Squad, not to be mistaken with the original version, which we will not talk about. But yeah, the movie came out, and how do I feel about the whole thing? I'm gonna say this: James Gunn knows how to make character-driven action movies, especially with a big cast of misfits. We already know that he was able to do it with the Guardians, but I feel that here with Suicide Squad, he was able to do it again. But I can't lie, I feel like if it's not on par in terms of character development and just you genuinely liking the characters, I think in some parts it actually supersedes Guardians, only because this is the wildest gang of misfits the DC universe has to offer. Without going into too much detail right off the rip, but if you exclude Bloodsport, which is Idris Elba's character, Peacemaker, which is John Cena's character, everybody else is just a whole bag of weird. A whole bag of weird. From Polka Dot Man to King Shark, who is my favorite, by the way, to Ratcatcher. Obviously, Harley Quinn is Harley Quinn. We know who she is and we know what they do. Rick Flags, my guy. In general, it is really a ragtag team of just the worst or the rejects that the DC has to offer. The movie in and of itself, I really enjoyed. I feel like what DC does best, in my opinion, is when they give you movies that are not trying to be like Marvel, where they're trying to create a whole cinematic universe. No, I like it when their movies are just standalone pieces. You can kind of do little references here and there if you need to, but I don't feel like it should fit into the overall narrative of a grand plot. I think Marvel was able to do that quite well, but even in saying that, Marvel has a lot of constraints because it's got such an interwoven narrative to the point of where you can't really give directors a chance to be super creative and just try to tell amazing stories, because you always have to think of the bigger picture. Whereas with DC, I feel like they tried to do the Marvel thing, they just couldn't get it right. They went for the wrong approach. Christopher Nolan was good for Christopher Nolan's Batman universe, but to try and take that dark, bleak, overly realistic approach to more whimsical characters, or like more super characters, no pun intended, like Superman, it just didn't translate well. And they could have done it, but I feel like they dropped the ball on so many things. But we're not gonna get into that. Let's stick to the matter at hand. We're here to talk about Suicide Squad, baby. And yeah, I have literally got nothing negative to say about this film. I have maybe like one or two nitpicks, but apart from that, nah, nothing negative to say about this film. Off the rip, recruited two teams to essentially go onto an island, a secret location, which is housing an extraterrestrial being that could be used as a weapon against the world and the US. The reason why like they've never been involved before is because the regime that was currently controlling the island, recently they had a coup. So the controlling family was killed, the generals have now taken over, and they don't hold any allegiances to America. So Amanda Waller is kind of Mogul, she's meant to be like the female version of Mongol. And then you've got TDK, stands for the detachable kid, land on the island. Then you find out for some reason one of them has betrayed the team. That team basically lands on the island, it goes off, they've been betrayed by one of their members, it turns into a complete bloodbath. Everyone ends up dying essentially. Everyone ends up dying on that team except for Rick Flags, Harley Quinn. But I was quite shocked that, by the way, spoiler alert, Boomerang dies. Now here's the thing, I didn't actually like Boomerang. I didn't even like the actor that plays Boomerang. But I was surprised that they killed him off. Especially how quickly they killed him off. That was a surprise for me. And I think maybe that's what made me like the movie even more. Because in this movie, people really do die. Like, this is what the Suicide Squad is supposed to be. It's meant to be, you can die. And it's like, don't get attached to the characters. And they really lived up to that. because no one was safe. Whenever they put people into certain situations, I always felt that, okay, no one's safe. Kind of like how Game of Thrones was, like between seasons 1 to 4. Anybody can get it. I love it. We move on to Team 2. Team 2 now is Bloodsport, King Shark, Ratcatcher, Polka Dot, Peacemaker, and they have gone onto the island undetected, and they're making their way to the mission, should I say. And so, like, they basically have to infiltrate the island. They have to get to the Thinker, because the Thinker is the one that has or can give them access to the building. And throughout the course of the story, you literally just get to understand how these people are the way they are. And the funniest thing is, Bloodsport, which is like the replacement to Will Smith. Will Smith's Deadshot. Let's not lie, in he's a replacement to Will Smith's Deadshot, but he's better in my opinion. Idris Elba carried this whole film from start to finish. Idris Elba and John Cena, to me, were like the best part of the film. I love their banter. I love like their little back and forth and like their rivalry, friendly competition. If the competition was just killing people, and like they did it so well, so they were really good in that film. But yeah, Bloodsport's character, like his motivation is he wants nothing to do with the whole Suicide Squad. Like he's cool just to serve out his time. Amanda Waller basically threatens his daughter, who got caught for shoplifting, and because she's 16 and she lives in the state of Louisiana, under the right circumstances, she can be tried as an adult. And if she's tried as an adult, there's a good chance that Amanda Waller would get her to be sent to Belle Reve, where they currently are right now. And in Belle Reve, it's got like the highest mortality rate in the whole US prison system. So yeah, she puts him in a rock and a hard place. And even though like he's a bad dad, and he doesn't shy away from that fact, like he's a bad person because he's been through too much stuff, he does have enough of a moral compass. He doesn't want his daughter to end up like him. So he ends up taking the deal, and that's how he basically joins the team. But yeah, in them trying to essentially like get into the actual base itself, they end up finding out that, oh, Rick Flag is alive, so they have to go save Rick. They save Rick. That whole sequence was amazing. By the time they get to him, just the way it all played out was hilarious. They get Rick, then they're literally making their way to the city, and somehow they get information that Harley is still alive. Harley has now like been taken to the capital, where the new presidente has fallen in love with her. But even then, he hasn't really fallen in love with her. It's more of a case of where like Harley Quinn is like the embodiment of rebellion against like the American system, and because of that, he's like, I would love to have that as my wife, because that's what my country wants to do. It wants to be rebellion against America. So me marrying the most rebellious woman in America would just solidify the message I'm trying to send to my people. And then, you know, they have like a little weird, intense attraction to one another, but it makes sense within Harley's world. But I just like her reasoning behind it and how she can just justify what she does. I feel like that's such a Harley thing to do, and that's the one thing which I liked in this movie. I feel like everybody played a part. Everybody was useful, and like their skills are essential. And I also like all of that, the character development that they had. I like the interaction that they had with one another. Like everything just gelled so well. The film doesn't actually feel as long as it is, because I think the film is like 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it didn't feel like 2 hours and 15 minutes, I'm being honest with you. I just watched that film, just enjoyed it for what it was. A lot of things happen. And I'm really not going to ruin it for you, but so much stuff happens where I was just like, damn. And again, it just added to the general feel of how good this movie was. The twists and turns it took me on, I was not expecting. The big boss, and he's not really even a big boss, but he is a big boss. It was Starro, but they kind of revealed that in the trailers. But when he comes out, I was just thinking to myself, yo, where the hell is Superman for this part? Because this is definitely not Suicide Squad levels. And thank God it was better than the whole blue sky beam they've done in every movie. This time they went big, no doubt, but they were a little bit more creative with it. And yeah, I think like that whole build up even to the finale, and when you finally get there, you feel good, and it's a justifiable like thrill that you have. So much so that it made me excited to say, you know what, if they gave me another Suicide Squad, I would love to see like some of these characters appear like in other DC films. So however like they do it, I wouldn't mind seeing them like in other DC films. Not for them to be super connected, like I said before, but just in a way to give like a slight nod, like, yeah, we exist in the same world, but we're not intertwined as much. But I'd love to see, once you survived, come back for Suicide again. As long as James Gunn is pushing it, or they've got another director slash writer that is actually like good, I don't mind. If they gave it like to the Russo brothers, they said, yo, we want you to make a Suicide movie as well, I'm there. R-rated Russos, crazy. Absolutely crazy. Those are my thoughts for the film. Overall, I will literally give this film, hands down, the best DC film I have watched. The best DC film I've watched. I will give this film an 8 out of 10. The best DC film out there today. Those are my thoughts. Please, if you've watched it, let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie. And if you think DC is now on the right path. Like always, guys, please like, comment, subscribe. And I will catch you next time. Peace.